plan on having a quiz over the unit circle, like maybe next Thursday, a week and 2 days, about then. Do you need a worksheet?
No, am I still allowed to move?
Are you still what?
Allowed to move?
Yeah, if you can't see, then you can move. Yep. So anyhow, plan on this for people at home also, having it now, this is one thing that's to their benefit, well, I don't know if it's always to their benefit. See if you guys remember this. If you guys here at school have a quiz on Thursday of next week, they'll get it next Wednesday, almost a week later. It's always the next Wednesday, which may not really seem fair because they get all this extra time to study. In all honesty, I mean, if you understand the unit circle, you shouldn't have to study it a whole lot. And let's be honest, if they have a week to study, they're going to study for an entire week?
No,
they're
they'll
not.
study for
Maybe one day extra, maybe. Okay. So anyhow, plan on having a quiz over unit circle, a blank unit circle, and you'll have a quiz over it. You need a worksheet. Okay. Next Thursday, a week from this Thursday. Okay. All right. So if you don't already have your unit circles out, get them out. Okay. I need a worksheet. Is that mine or yours? Is that yours? Okay. So didn't we get as far as number 33?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's continue on. Let's flip this thing over here. Okay.
Now we're on 30.
Now, when we get to number 35, these are going to be very, very easy, but, yes ma'am?
I got the wrong notebook. I
Oh.
started to do my work in the subject.
Go ahead. All right, so these are going to be very, very easy, but I will tell you this right now. When we're starting number 35, there's going to be some other types of questions that aren't quite so easy, and you might want to jot these down on the back of your unit circle. So what I'm getting at is when you look at number 35, this is the same worksheet, worksheet 2-1. They ask you to convert 30 degrees to radians. And I'm not looking for a real complicated answer. I'm asking for a very simple one. I just see somebody answered it without even saying a thing. What's the easiest way to convert 30 degrees to radians, Meerkat? Look at your unit circle. You simply look at your unit circle. How many radians is 30 degrees?
5/6.
And what do I put down for the symbol for radians? What is the symbol for radians?
Nothing.
There isn't one. Other than if you want to write the word radians, you don't need to. But if you don't see a symbol, it's always radians, okay? We're looking at number 37, 240 degrees. How many radians is 240 degrees?
240. 4 pi over 2.
4 pi over 3. You're simply looking at the unit circle and writing stuff down. This is what I was talking about. We're going to spend like 3 days, going over this unit circle over and over and over. And then once we start getting the assignment, the answers are really quick. You just look at the unit circle, there's the answer. Now, we talked about this a little bit last Thursday. Answer exactly what I asked. Where do you see it written on your unit circle, negative 60 degrees?
You don't.
You don't. There's nowhere on there that you wrote negative 60 degrees. Where do you think you're going to look for negative 60? You could look at 300, or you could look at 60 degrees, and whatever it says,
Opposite.
make it the opposite. So what was 60 degrees radians?
Pi over 3.
So the answer is not pi over 3.
Negative.
Negative pi over 3. Or you could look at 300 degrees. It's the same thing. Okay? 41. 180 degrees. How many radians is that? Is that pi? I think so. Again, negative 135 degrees. Negative 135 degrees. You don't see it written anywhere on your unit circle. But you look at 135 degrees and then make it the opposite. What's 135? 3 pi over 4? So negative 3 pi over 4. I want to point something out to you guys right here. And don't be afraid to answer this. You guys showing your work on these?
No.
Why?
Because you can.
You don't really need to. I mean, yeah, you can't really. I mean, it's just you're looking stuff up, okay? So this is what I was talking about the first day of school. Trig has a whole heck of a lot less writing than Algebra 2, but it's a little more abstract, okay? Shaylin, you know what's going on right now? Good. You shouldn't. You will. It'll be all right, though, okay? That's the right answer, okay? All right, 45. Negative 90 degrees. Again, you don't have that written on your unit circle. You go to 90 degrees, and then make it the opposite. So negative, what, pi over 2? Negative pi over 2. Okay, now, here's what I would encourage you to do. Just, if you're working ahead, please stop. I'm going to tell you right now, on your first test, not your quiz that you're going to take next week, next Thursday, but your first test, they're going to ask you to convert from degrees to radians. And Meerkat said, oh, I just look at unit circle. That's all I do is look at unit circle.
You won't have
Okay.
it.
Oh, well, no, you might have the unit circle. There'll be times that you will. But what if I gave you this? 20 degrees. Make that into radians. You gonna look at your unit circle?
Nope.
No, because you might say because 20 degrees isn't on your unit circle. Be careful there. 20 degrees is on your
It's
unit
just not
circle.
marked.
You just didn't write it. Okay? We didn't write it on there, okay? So 20 degrees, your unit circle is not gonna help you out. Okay? So here's what I would really encourage you to do. Take your unit circle, flip it over, and write this down. Okay? To convert. So conversions. Degrees to radians. When you're converting degrees to radians. And we could have been doing this for these first 4 or 5 questions, but we didn't need to. We just looked at a unit circle, we were done. Okay? To go from degrees to radians, times by pi over 180. Times by pi over 180. And you don't need to write this down. I mean, write that down, okay? But like if I really wanted to, 30 degrees. Instead of looking at the unit circle, we could have taken 30 degrees and times by pi over 180. If you do that, 30 is 30 over 1. We have 30 times pi is 30 pi. Over 1 times 180 is 180. And what goes into 30 and 180? Anybody know what goes into 30 that also goes into 180? 6 does. Something bigger? 30 does. 30 goes in here once, 6 times left with 1 pi over 6, just like we said. Back here at 240 degrees. We could have taken 240 degrees times pi over 180. That's 240 over 1. And if you do that, that still looks terrible. 180. 240 times pi is 240 pi. Or 1 times 180 is 180. Anybody know what goes into 240 and 180? It's a pretty good sized number.
121.
Not 120, that's too big. Not quite that big.
60.
60. 60 goes in here 4 times. 60 goes in here 3 times. 4 pi over 3. So that's what you could have done. Again, why didn't we do that on these problems?
Because they're on the unit.
It's on the unit circle, okay? So if I asked you 20 degrees times by pi over 180, then you'd get what? 20 pi over 180. What goes into 20 and 180? 20 goes in once and 9 times. You need pi over 9. So 20 degrees is the same as pi over 9 radians, okay? And again, if you're going, I'm just going to look at the unit circle. I'm telling you right now on your first test, I'm going to say, give me 40 degrees. 40 degrees in radians. And the unit circle ain't going to help you. It's not going to help you at all, okay? So, and then also put this down. What if I asked you for radians? 2 degrees. Let's work the other way. Say it again? Right. You're about 1 step ahead. Let's backtrack here. You're working backwards. So the opposite of timesing by pi over 180 would be dividing by pi over 180. Well, that's not what Jonathan just said, okay? What he said was, what do we typically do? This goes back to middle school. You might have forgotten this stuff. How do we divide fractions? You guys remember how you divide? If I gave you 2/3 divided by 4/5 without a calculator, yes. Which one do I flip? First one?
Second.
Leave the first and then times. So instead of saying divide by 180, he said times by 180 over pi. Okay? All right. So here's what we're going to do. A little bit of practice here. Even though number 47, you could use your unit circle on, we're going to do what we just did right there, okay? We're going to actually work through this right here. The answer is 60, okay? I mean, we know the answer is 60 just by looking at your unit circle. Let's go ahead and actually work through this. Now, a little bit of a clue here. You don't have to know this, but it's kind of nice, okay? A lot of times students go, oh, I always forget, is it times by pi over 180? Is it times by 180 over pi? I always mix those up, okay? This little trick doesn't always work. It doesn't always work, but, well, actually, let's work through this, then I'll show you the little trick. So we're going to change this radians into degrees. Radians to degrees times by 180 over pi. if we do that, pi times 180 is 180 pi over 3 times pi is 3 pi. And what does 180, and what do those pi's do?
They cancel.
They cancel. They cancel out. And what's 180 divided by 3? 60 what? Degrees. Put the symbol. 60 degrees. Here's the little trick that works most of the time, but not always, okay? If you were given pi, well, let's actually work through 49. I'll show you the trick. 49. It says negative 5 pi over 4. Okay? Now, if you're sitting there on test day and you're like, oh, crud, I don't remember, do I times by pi over 180? 180 over pi. Well, let's say, I think it's times pi over 180. Why would your gut instinct be, I think that's not the right way. I think it's the other way. Say it again? Why?
Because you're trying to cancel them out.
You want to cancel out. Do the pi's cancel now? No, they don't. Okay? So, if I times by the other one, the pi's what? Cancel. They do cancel. Okay? That doesn't always work. Okay, let's work through this and I'll give you an example of one that does not work. Okay? So the pi's are going to cancel. Negative 5 times 180, you can always use a calculator. It's negative 900 over 4. 900 divided by 4 is negative 225 degrees. Okay? Little clue right here. If I gave you this right here, is that degrees or radians?
No, that's
You
radians.
should. Why? Because it has a pi in it?
No, 'cause there's
It's not because it has a pi, it's because
no degree.
there's no degree. If I go like this, that's degrees, because it says it's degrees, okay? Radians has no symbol, okay? So what I'm getting at is this. Degrees or radians? Radians. You remember going, oh, well, but what about 45 degrees? Yeah, 45 degrees is a nice angle, but that's not, there's no
Agreed.
symbol there, so it's got to be radians. So, if I was going to convert these radians to degrees, are my pi's going to cancel? Sort of a tricky question here. Will my pi's cancel on this one? No, why? There's no pi. So they don't always, it doesn't always work, okay? But most, I mean, just so you understand, radians don't always have pi's in them, but
Most of the time.
most of the time they do. I mean, we look at all the radians on there, they all have pi's on them, okay? So, but not always. 51. Pi over 2. Let's do it the long way. Again, you could do the shortcut, but again, you're gonna have to do the longer way on some of the problems on your next test. Times by 180 over pi. The pi's cancel. You're left with 180 over 2, which is 90 degrees. We've already said this once. Meerkat answered it once. I told you to do it the long way. How could you check your answer? Look at the unit circle. Is 90 degrees pi over 2? Yep, we did it right. Now, occasionally students say, so when we're doing these homework on our own, do you want us to do it the long way or the short way? My response is, I don't care, but you better know both ways. Okay, you better be able to do it both ways. I really don't care how you do it. Okay, but you better know both ways. 53, pi over 12. Okay? I'm going to give you a little arithmetic that's a really nice thing to know. That you don't have to memorize, but it's really nice in this class if you know this one little computation. We times by 180 over pi. The pi's cancel. One little computation that's nice to know is 12, well, just for this class, 12 goes in 180 15 times. That's really nice to know. If you know that 12, it'll help you out from time to time. 12 goes in your once, 12 goes in your 15 times. The answer is 15 degrees. Could we have used the unit circle on that problem?
No,
Why?
because there's no 15 degrees.
We don't have 15 degrees labeled anywhere. We don't have 15 degrees. Okay? That wouldn't have helped at all. 55. Negative pi over 2. Okay? I really don't, again, as long as you, I really want you to understand this unit circle. I don't want you to just know all these different ways of doing it. I mean, we knew pi over 2 was 90 degrees. So doesn't it stand to reason that negative pi over 2 has got to be negative 90 degrees? I'm not even sure my work on that. I mean, negative 90 degrees. -57, negative pi over 6. Okay. Do we have that yet? Nope, we don't. Well, I'll tell you what, back here at 35. If 30 degrees was pi over 6, negative pi over 6 is negative 30 degrees. Okay, just a few more, and then we're going to stop. I'm going to stop early so we can help Shayla a little bit. When you look at 59 through 70, it says, express your answer in decimal form. We're not going to do that. We are not going to express them in decimal form. I want exact answers, okay? Exact answers. So, they give us 17 degrees. They want you to put that into radian form. So change degrees to radians. To go from degrees to radians, we times by pi over 180. I'm not going to keep, these are always over 1. You guys know that. Okay? Just times the top by 17, the bottom stays 180. So 17 times pi is 17 pi. 1 times 180 is 180. Anybody know what goes into 180 and 17 besides 1? Somebody say it.
I don't know.
Nothing. That doesn't simplify.
Well, that's all it is.
That's it. And I don't get this because the paper says punch it in a calculator and get an estimate. Get a really good estimate. That's not a really good estimate. That's the exact answer. Why would you get an exact answer and then get a good answer that's not quite accurate? That doesn't even make sense to me. The exact answer is the best answer. 61. Negative 40 degrees times by pi over 180. Do that, we're going to get negative 40 pi or 180. What goes into 40 and 180? What's the biggest thing that goes into 40 and 180? Anybody know? Bigger than 4. 40 don't go into 180. Went too big. 20. 20 goes in twice. 9. So it's negative 2 pi over 9. We going too fast, too slow, just right? All right. 63. So we have 125 degrees. We times by pi over 180. We're going to get 125 pi or 180. Well, I like this question. Okay. I want to make sure people don't go a little too far on this. What goes in 125 and 180? It's a smaller number. What's that? Heard somebody say, I think 5? Yeah, 5. 5 goes in here 25 times. 5 goes in here. You can always use a calculator 36 times. Be careful. Some students say, ooh, that simplifies to 5 pi over 6. What'd they do? How did they go from 25 pi over 6, 36 to 5 pi over 6?
25 by 5 divided 36 by 6.
Yeah, there's a better way of saying that though. Somebody said it. They square rooted the top and the bottom. I've said for years, yeah, whatever you do to the bottom, you do to the top. Whatever you do to the bottom, you do to the top. It's got to be by multiplying or dividing, not by square rooting. And I'll give you a very simple example. If I give you 1/4, a quarter, 25 cents. Square root the top and square root the bottom. Square root of 1 is 1 with square root of 4. $0.25 is the same as half a dollar? Okay, so don't go too far. Okay. 65. I'll tell you what, these ones I'm going to do tomorrow. I do want to show you guys one more thing though. I want to see, I show this every year. And nobody's ever figured this out, myself included. I eventually had to ask a student this. I had a student that graduated about 12 years or so ago. Her name is Cassie Payne. Anybody know who she is? Now her name is Cassie Jones. Anyhow, really good student. One of the best students I ever had. Very smart student. And I can remember in trig, very first test, there was questions where they had to convert from degrees to radians and radians to degrees. And I was grading her test. It was a written test. And she came up with an answer. And I stared at it for 10 minutes. And I could not figure out how she got the answer she did. And I want to see if you guys can figure this out. Okay? Nobody's been able to, she explained it to me. And I'm like, oh, okay. If I had 140 degrees, and it said make that into radians, here's what she did. Okay? She put times pi over 180. How are we looking so far? She wants to convert that to radians. We good so far?
Yeah.
Okay. And then she went over 1 equals 140 pi over 180. How we doing so far? Good?
Yeah.
Okay. Which equals, I gotta remember here. That's what her paper said. And I'm like, okay,
Was she
good,
right?
good. What? I could not, I stood for 10 minutes. I was like, how the heck did she, it's not right. It's right up until the very end. How did she get 52 pi over 54? I couldn't figure it out. I literally got her out of class and said, you gotta tell me what you did here. Because I don't even, it's very, very curious. I couldn't understand how she got that. Any idea where she got 50? And when she explained it to me, it scared me for about 5 seconds. Because when she explained it to me, I thought, that sounds really good, but it's not right. Because it couldn't be right. I knew it's not right. And then I realized what she was doing wrong. Anybody figure it out? Here's what she did. What goes into 140 and 180? Anybody know? What's the biggest thing goes 140 and 180? Bigger than 10. 20. Listen up. 20 goes into 100. How many times? 5. 20 goes into 40 twice. 20 goes into 100. 5. 20 goes into 80. 4 times. That's not how you divide though. Okay. So 20 goes, that's, I mean, when she first said that to me, I was like, that sounds really good, but it's not right. So anyhow, don't do that. Okay, so here's what you guys need to do. This assignment, has anybody checked online? When does this assignment due?
No good.
Let me check real quick.
Tell us it's due.
Well, I'll tell you. Hang on just a second here. People that are at home, just hang on. This assignment is due, and we haven't even got through all of it yet. Section 1. It's not due till next Monday. Next Monday. So what we're going to do is this. Just so you guys know, you can use this time to work on the evens that we've skipped. You can do that. We only have, 65 through 86. We only got like 10 more problems to do. I'm going to finish this. I'm going to finish going over this with you guys on Thursday, and then you'll have a work day on Friday. You should have no reason to not have this thing done on Friday. We're going to start new material on Monday, but we're going to have this thing, a homework check. If you guys remember the first day of school, I told you about a homework quiz. We'll explain that again as we get closer to it. But we're going to start new stuff on Monday, but this needs to be done by Monday also, at the end of the hour Monday, okay? All right, so if you want to work on it, you can, but you'll have a work day on Friday, so either way. All right, I'm going to work with Shaylin for a little bit.